Hey guys, and welcome to another Escape Wheel watch review. Today we're going to be looking at the Escapement Time Dress Watch. Now this one doesn't have an official part number or anything like that, so I'm just going to call it the 2021 version. So first off, you can notice this beautiful strap I've got on it. This is a strap from Vario. It's an awesome strap. The one that comes on the watch. It's a pretty good strap. I barely wore it on this strap, but yeah, it's just a black croc strap, but actually, decently flexible, and I figure once it breaks in, it'll be really good. The buckle on it is actually really nice. It's not signed or anything, but it's just a solid feeling buckle. So that's nice to see that they're putting actual decent straps on these things. But anyway, back to the review. So this is the 2021 version. Escapement Time has released a dress watch in the past. It's slightly different than this one. That old one was a 38mm case. It had a silver sunburst dial. It had just a regular quartz movement with a date, and it came on a all polished bracelet. So this one's quite a bit different. They look almost identical, but they're quite a bit different. So let's get into this review. Let's start off with the sizes. So I'm going to measure this in a few different ways here. So the diameter of the bezel is 36. The diameter on the actual case is 39.7. The lug to lug is 46.1. It's got 20mm lug width, and the thickness is 9.9mm. So nice and compact. It's a little bit bigger than I know a lot of people like that 38mm size dress watch, but I think because of the the 36mm bezel, or whatever you want to call it, I think because that's 36mm, this wears pretty small. I feel like it's more of a 38mm. Wears like a 38mm instead of a 40mm. So just keep that in mind. The case finishing on this one, it's a pretty simple finishing. It's completely polished. Every single surface is polished, except you got polished on the back too. Except the case back has a circular brushing. It's got a nice Escapement Time engraving on it, and it is a screw-in case back. But if you look real closely at these lugs here, so the end of the lug and this little tiny, right there, that little tiny bit that's lit up there is a brushed surface. So that's the only brushing, except also in between the lugs is brushed. And it's actually, really nicely done. The polishing on it's pretty good. The crown at the 3 o'clock position is signed. You can see it's got the Escapement Time E, that fancy E that they use. Really nice case finishing. It's a very interesting case. You can see it's fairly flat, but like this mid case here, where that's the part that's sitting on your wrist right there. It's super thin, so this thing looks really, really thin when you get it on the wrist. So here's a wrist shot of it. All right, here we are. Some natural lighting. You can see that those indexes just pick up all these little reflections. It looks absolutely gorgeous. As for the watch itself, it's super low on the wrist. Kind of conforms to the wrist a little bit. But you can see what I mean by the mid case being right up against the wrist. It makes it appear a lot thinner than it actually is. Let's get out into the sun here and see how that looks. Not sure how that's actually looking on camera, but kind of gives you an idea. The color really stands out here. You can see that's kind of a creamy color. But yeah, really, really nice. Really happy with the way this thing plays with the light. And those hands are absolutely gorgeous. And this is, for reference, this is a 7 1/4 inch wrist. Looks really, really good. Really happy with how this thing sits on the wrist. Alright, now let's talk about the crystal on this. So this is just a simple flat sapphire crystal. It's slightly, ever so slightly raised above the bezel there. It's got a nice little chamfer It looks good. There's no anti-reflective coating that I can see, but you know, at this price point, I'm not really expecting that. But it looks really good. No complaints on the crystal. So let's zoom into the dial here. The dial is super nice on this. It's a matte white dial. There's no sunburst to it. There's no texture to it. It looks really, really good. It's kind of an off-white. You can see the difference between my white gloves and the dial. The indexes, you got a 12 o'clock double baton. They're not separated. It's one piece. And then you got single batons at every other hour marker. There's no date or anything like that, so it's a nice, clean, symmetrical dial. You've got that elegant escapement time text at the 12 o'clock position, and then quartz at the 6 o'clock position. The hands on this thing are absolutely gorgeous. I know my camera's not going to do it justice, but they are absolutely beautiful. Even under macro, I would love to show you guys macro, but my macro camera is just terrible. But I was able to get in there and look at them, and I mean, they are just super, super nicely finished. There's no sharp edges on it, no like funny finishing on it. You kind of have those, it's a dolphin hands, kind of similar to Grand Seiko. And then you've got that blued second hand. Now the listing says that that's a heat treated blue, but it's really hard to tell. It looks a lot like the blue hands on some of the other watches that I've had that have blue hands, painted blue hands. So yeah, I don't know. It looks fine. I mean, it looks really good, I should say. But yeah, I don't know whether it's a real heated blue hand or not. So let's get into the movement. So the movement on this, it's really interesting. It's a Seiko Movement, and it's a VH31. So it is a quartz movement. You'll notice that it's ticking around similar to a mechanical. It's 4 ticks per second instead of, you know, the 6 or 8. I'll put it next to my Pagani design that I'm wearing today. You can kind of see the difference in the smoothness here. So yeah, it looks really good. Normally I'm not a quartz fan, but I think as long as it doesn't tick once per second, it's fine by me, because my big thing with the quartz movements is that the hand never lines up with the second track, right? So with this, you don't have to worry about that, which is really nice. And this is a non-date movement, so you don't have a ghost date position. It's just one pull out of the crown. This is not a screw down crown, and then you can set your time. Accuracy of this thing is to within 1 second a month, and I believe it's like a 2-year battery life, so it should last quite a while. And the nice thing about this one is that it's got a pretty easy screw-in case back, so you can undo this and change out that battery. And I'm sure it's just a cheap battery on this thing too. So yeah, no complaints with the movement either. So yeah, that's it. That's the Escapement Time 2021 Quartz Dress Watch. It's a pretty simple watch, so this review is pretty short, but yeah, I really, really like this watch, guys. So some of the competition for this guy, I would say Cadison. They have a couple really nice dress watches. The Cadison Diamond. I've had that watch and really enjoyed my time. That's got the Miyota 9000 in it. And then the Cadison also does a like a silver sunburst with a NH35, and kind of a similar setup to this one. I've just never been a fan of the silver sunburst dials, so I don't like that watch. I would never purchase it for myself, but I've heard really good things about it. But that Cadison Diamond is really, really nice. And then I'm trying to think of any other kind of dressy watches that you can get on AliExpress, and I'm coming up blank. So yeah, this is it's $79. It rarely goes on sale, but you can find coupons here and there. So if you're interested in this thing, I'm going to leave a link down in the description to buy it. That is an affiliate link, and I really, really appreciate if you guys use that link. It just gives the channel a little bit of extra income to purchase more of these. So this is a watch that I typically would not have bought on my own. I rarely have a reason to dress up, but I like this watch. I saw that it was a new watch and there wasn't any reviews out of it, so I purchased it for you guys. And yeah, I actually ended up really liking it. So I'm definitely going to be keeping this one in the collection, even though it's probably only going to get worn, I don't know, 5 or 6 times a year, if that. So if you guys like the content, please consider subscribing, leaving a thumbs up. If you guys have any questions about this watch, drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to get to them. I think that's it. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.